I love fighting games, but a big issue I have with the genre is the fact that these games are not the most accessible portably. Sadly, I just can't fit an arcade cabinet in my pocket. But thankfully, that's where Tiger Electronics has stepped in to satisfy my fighting game fix on the go. Now I can play Street Fighter 2 at the grocery store, at dinner, at the theater, out in nature, and in the bathroom. Okay, but seriously, fighting games are a complicated genre, so the idea of translating fighters to a very cheap, one-off portable that you would have found in the toy section of a Walgreens in the mid-90s is a bit fascinating to me. If you don't know, Tiger Electronic handhelds were tiny LCD-based games that were closer to digital watches and calculators than to a Game Boy, because they consist entirely of differently placed sprites on a single screen background that was physical rather than digital. They were cheap, and there were a million of them based on a bunch of different licenses. So let's see if Tiger was able to capture fighting games in their most rudimentary form on one of these things. The first Tiger Electronics handheld we're looking at is of course Street Fighter 2, which released all the way back in 1992 during the height of the Street Fighter mania that was sweeping across the world. And oh my god, what happened to you guys? This thing actually predated the Game Boy port of Street Fighter 2 for a few years, so sadly, this was really the only way to play a handheld Street Fighter port for a while. And we're not going to count the Turbo Express, okay? So the game has you select one of 6 characters, which I guess is kind of impressive. The characters available are Ryu, Ken, Guile, Blanca, Zangief, and E Honda. So the dudes with projectiles versus the big boys. As you can see, these different characters are essentially just modified versions of the exact same sprite, which I mean I can't be negative about, because the actual game did this too. But even if it didn't, I'd still think this is charming because even if only 2 sprites are changed, you can still instantly recognize who the character is supposed to be. So let's get into the gameplay and just look at it. What do you want me to say? You can move back and forth and jump around, and there are 3 different attack buttons and a special move button, but none of it feels good or like it works at all. Shocking, I know, but funnily enough, I was getting my ass beat trying to play this game, and the special move button I was pressing wasn't doing anything. I tried to Sonic Boom and Flash Kick, but this geef just poked me to death because all of his buttons would just beat mine. I was about to post a scrub quote rant until I had the bright idea to read the manual to find out how to spam fireballs. And yeah, that's where I found the iconic Hadouken motion. Back, forward. Anyways, the Shotos are busted. Look how dumb fireballs are. Sadly, this is probably the only version of World Warrior Guile that isn't top tier, because he only has his Flash Kick here. Honda gets his goofy 100 hand slaps, Blanca gets his rolling attack, and Geef gets the spinning leg. Which I'm just gonna say must have obviously inspired Arika years later, right? And yeah, that's the game. Surprised? Probably not. Tiger actually made a bunch of Street Fighter merchandise at the time, including these awesome Rock'em Sock'em robots I gotta have one day, and even more Tiger Electronic games including one for the new challengers and a wristwatch game. Sadly, these haven't been dumped online, and are more on the expensive side, so I can only hope to imagine they're good enough to be on the main stage of the next Evo. Of course, the next series we gotta cover is Mortal Kombat, which to no surprise had a bunch of different LCD games as well, but we'll be taking a look at the original. And I know this is gonna sound ridiculous, but this game is leagues better than the Tiger Street Fighter 2. Looking at the footage on screen, you're probably thinking this is the exact same game I just showed you. And you kinda wouldn't be wrong, but somehow, Tiger Electronics Mortal Kombat just looks and feels better than Tiger Electronics Street Fighter 2 to me. So we got the same shtick here, with there being 6 playable characters that are made from 2 different slightly edited sprites, but this time it's a bit goofier in my opinion. Player 1 gets Sub-Zero, Kano, and Raiden, and like, come on man, that's not Sub-Zero. And don't even try to tell me that's maskless Sub-Zero, cause that ain't Kuai Liang. And then player 2 side gets Liu Kang, Sonya, and Johnny Cage. And these sprite swaps are somehow more convincing to me than that fake ass Sub-Zero over there. So you gotta battle through 3 opposing opponents on the other side, but I was shocked when Goro jump scared me out of nowhere as the mid boss before Old Man Shang Tsung appears for the final battle. Which is genuinely a great idea, cause he already reuses sprites in the original game, so this fits perfectly. I really appreciated this extra effort, honestly. The player 2 side characters get to fight Scorpion as their mid boss, and it's literally the same sprite as Sub-Zero, so you already know I'm pissed and had to hit the fatality on him. And yeah, there actually is a finish him state in this game, where you can do a fatality to set the opponent on fire, And I'm pretty sure this graphic image ingrained visions of horror into some 8-year-old's mind that was playing this in the back of their mom's car on the way to a Hollywood video back in 1995. Pretty gruesome stuff. I hope I don't get demonetized showing you guys this. Like I said before, there were some other Mortal Kombat games from Tiger, but we'll come back to speak on one of those in a bit, cause right now we gotta finish up this round of LCD fighting games with Virtua Fighter. Now bear with me, cause this game hasn't been dumped online, so just pretend you're watching a video from 2008 YouTube as I film the actual Tiger handheld for this section. Alright, Virtua Fighter is known for being so ahead of the curve with its cutting edge graphics that it's absolutely no surprise that this is the worst possible medium to translate any of that fidelity to. But I gotta give them credit, cause this handheld has all 8 of the original Virtua Fighter 1 cast playable, even though they look absolutely terrible. The sprites try to capture the infamous polygons that Virtua Fighter 1 is known for, but this attempt just makes the character designs illegible, cause everyone just looks like they're wearing armor. And guess what, y'all? This is the worst one we've looked at so far. I know no one expects these to be good, and I feel so dumb trying to explain that this game is very mashy, cause like, yeah, duh. But it's mashy and feels bad. I couldn't find a move list online for specials, but I did mesh out some kind of kick with Jackie, and one time Jeffrey literally just flung me out of the stage for a ring out, so those exist apparently. If there's one thing I have to give this game credit for though, is the fact that replays exist just like the original game. Once you finish a round, it'll replay the little attack you did, and I think that's incredibly cute on this thing. Now before we jump into the final 2 Tiger fighting games I want to cover, in my research for this video, I discovered something that blew my mind. Owning arcade cabinets takes a lot of work to keep these machines going. So for my own sanity, I've sworn off on ever getting a dedicated light gun game cab, cause I just don't have the willpower to mess with all of the components that go into them. So when I came across a listing for a Tiger handheld Virtua Cop, you know I had to cop. This is editing got one quote, and I'm sorry I wrote that joke in. So here it is, a genuine LCD light gun Tiger game. Its build is a bit thicker and bigger than the other Tiger games, because it has a stand to sit itself up, and it comes with this blaster looking light gun to shoot with, which kinda bummed me out because how cool would it have been if it came with a 3-inch Sega Stunner, but I digress. So we start the game up, and what'd you expect? It doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. I'm never gonna own a light gun game. And now for the final 2 games we're gonna cover. And we're not looking at Tiger handheld games. We're looking at games on the Tiger handheld, the Gamecom. Released in 1998, the Gamecom was Tiger's attempt at seriously going head-to-head against the Game Boy with their own cartridge-based portable. And it somehow got a lot of big developer support, most famously with ports like Duke Nukem 3D and Resident Evil 2. And as you could probably guess from this footage, the Gamecom was a massive flop, because even though it came out 8 years after the Game Boy, the Gamecom was worse than the Game Boy in almost every single way a gamer would actually care about. So let's check out the 2 fighting games that came out for the Gamecom, starting with Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Fun fact, the N64 version of Mortal Kombat Trilogy is my favorite Mortal Kombat game to watch tournament footage for, because the game is just so wild at a high level. And not so fun fact, the Gamecom version of Mortal Kombat Trilogy is probably the worst Mortal Kombat game to watch. Somehow, I think even the standalone Tiger handheld Mortal Kombat looked better than this. Well, at least the controls make sense and are generally responsive, but that's kinda all the praise I can give it, cause how everything actually works in this game is just a mess. Every attack just staggers the opponent in the same way, and there's no real juggles or even combos in general. You kinda just trade buttons and throw projectiles for the entire match in the jankiest way. The Gamecom only seems to have one sound channel, so there's no music, and all special moves use the same sound effect. But I think the Gamecom has trouble loading the sound effect in, so there's always a delay between when a special move starts and finishes where the sound effect plays. But the hitbox for the attack appears as soon as the move starts up, which is just hilarious. There are 11 characters to choose from the start, with surprisingly Shao Kahn and Motaro immediately being selectable, and Noob and Ermac both being unlockable characters. But somehow, of all characters to omit from a Mortal Kombat game, Both Scorpion and Sub-Zero didn't make the cut. I'd be hurt, but it's okay, cause the best ninja reptile is here. Shockingly not omitted though, are the fatalities, babalities, friendships, and brutalities, that all look extremely spectacular of course. I know it was a colossal task to port a game that the consoles could barely handle onto the Gamecom, but it's just ridiculous to me that this game is somehow a million times worse than the Game Boy port of Mortal Kombat 2 in almost every single way. Moving on to our final and most ridiculous game, we have the Gamecom port of Fighters Megamix. Yeah. Fighters Megamix was a 3D Saturn exclusive crossover fighter, with characters from Virtua Fighter, Fighting Vipers, Virtua Cop, Sonic the Fighters, and Daytona, which is just a Hall of Fame lineup if you ask me. The game was as ridiculous as it was impressive, and is still extremely underrated. So let's see how the Gamecom shits on that. Yeah, this looks awesome. So we have all the same buttons from Fighters Megamix, and again, just like Mortal Kombat Trilogy, all you can really do is just poke, cause combos and strings just don't really exist. So the game is about real footsies like this. There's also the escape button that turns the game 3D with a weak little sidestep, but I'm not even sure if it actually does anything in gameplay, other than just give a slightly different perspective in the background. We do have 4 Virtua Fighter characters and 4 Fighting Vipers characters selectable from the start, and the Fighting Vipers characters even kept their armor mechanic from their game, but they don't have any cool air techs. If there's anything I can give the game credit for, it's that they included a Virtua Fighter's kid character and the Daytona car as unlockables, so at least a semblance of the goofiness is here. And that's it. The Gamecom sucks. Big revelations here on the Guile 1 Quote channel. It's just wild that these games are just so bad though. Like, the Gamecom cost $70 and the games were like 30 bucks. So for $100, you got this. The Game Boy cost $90 when it first came out almost a decade before this, and was a million times better. If you grew up with the Gamecom, or even better, played against someone in one of these fighting games before, please leave a comment and give your life story, cause I need to know how things ended up so bad for you. Anyways, since none of these portable tiger fighting games were great, I guess I gotta find a way to get my cab in the bathroom, so I can grind electrics on the player 2 side while doing number 2. Thanks.